Hi everyone, welcome to episode 51 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning for the past week. So yeah, I feel like a lot more, maybe not a lot, not as much as I thought, but I did have more time this week for knitting because I did have Thursday and Friday off for the Thanksgiving break. And yeah, so if you also celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I had a lot of yummy food to eat. I got to see some family who are also here in Seattle, Washington, so that was really, really nice. And yeah, just all the good food, all the good company, so it was really nice. And I did get a lot of non-knitting and spinning things done. I did a lot of yarn dyeing and fiber dyeing actually this past weekend after I filmed last week's video and also yesterday. So I have all of that to share with you at the end of the video, and I also do have a few acquisitions to share with you as well because it was really funny. I think for some reason yesterday, which was Friday, it seemed like a whole bunch of orders like arrived all at once, and so I was like, perfect for me to show you on the podcast today. So today it is Saturday, November 25th, and I am filming earlier in the day than I usually do because since the sun has been setting a lot earlier in the day nowadays and it'll just keep getting earlier, I want to try and film earlier just so that we have some good lighting for these videos because I very much rely on the natural light coming in through this window right here to film these podcasts. So let's see how it goes today. Let's start off with what I am wearing today. I am so excited to talk about this. It is also one of my finished objects for this week, and I'm really partly shocked that I finished this week because I think this sweater took me 2 weeks, about 2 weeks to finish, and it is just, I was just obsessed with knitting it that I just didn't want to put it down, and so I think that's part of the reason why I finished it so quickly. This is the dad sweater patterned by emweecurt, and I knit it with my Handspun yarn. It was my first sweater quantity Handspun, and it is now a finished sweater. So for the fiber, I used Lobby and Aimee Confetti fiber to make this, and I bought 5 braids of it, and I spun it, and I used a supported long draw to spin that, and I ended up with somewhere, I think each of my skeins were all kind of in between either, it started off at a heavier weight yarn, like a thicker yarn, and gradually got thinner as I worked through the fiber, which I think is really funny, and I was slightly worried about having enough yardage to finish a sweater with that, and also just like how would that look using a wide range of fiber or of yarn weights in one sweater that's supposed to just be done with one weight of yarn. And it honestly turned out fine and actually quite good. Like, I look at this and I can tell, and I feel like if I pointed it out, others would be able to tell that there's like different gauge going on all over the sweater, but like, I love this sweater so much. It is cozy. I love how it feels. It is oversized just enough, the way that I like it, and I think it looks great. And I've been wearing it all the time. The weather right now is cold enough for me. This sweater is a little dense, and it's like the perfect, I feel like, not only like cozy, but I think like a nice hard wearing sweater. I think I'm very curious to see how the yarn kind of wears, since it's like my first Handspun. sweater. Like, I don't know how my handspun yarn wears over time, like as a sweater, and so I'm really, really interested to see how this feels, and yeah, if it changes at all, if it pills, if it, you know, just like, yeah, again, how it wears over time. So, but so far, so good. It honestly feels like it'll be hard wearing, and I'm really excited about that. I want just like a good staple sweater that I can put over anything, and I know that will keep me warm. And so, yeah, this sweater just makes me so happy. I knit size 1, or I followed the instructions for size 1. Because again, my gauge was kind of all over the place because of my handspun yarn, the sizing is probably a little off, but I followed the instructions and stitch counts for size 1. I used the recommended US 5 and 6 needles and finished measurements. So I have kind of a lot, I think, to talk about this sweater just because I find it so interesting. Finished measurements for this. So, and I will stand up as I usually do to show you my, just how it fits on me, but finished measurements. So what I did was, because it ended up being wider than the pattern measurements for this size, because my yarn was a lot bigger than like the DK weight / worsted weight that the pattern asked for, the circumference got very wide. So right at the underarms, I have 42 inches in circumference for size 1, which is the smallest size, and so that's huge. That is a lot bigger than the pattern states, but I was expecting it because of my yarn. But because of that, I did decreases down the body, and so right at the hem, where I stopped doing decreases, I have 37 inches in circumference for the hem. So again, 42 inches in circumference right under the arms, and then 37. So that went down like, is that 5 inches between the underarm to the hem of the sweater. But right at the hem, which is right where kind of where like the fullest part of my chest is, that will give me 12 inches of positive ease. And so I just wanted to point that out because you will notice there is some kind of shaping happening in the body, and that was not written in the pattern. That was a modification that I made because of my gauge for the sweater. So actually, do I have anything? Oh, let me stand up and I'll like keep talking about it. So let me stand up. Can you see the waist? Let me go back here. Okay, so I'm going to just like sorry, let me move my hair. Okay. I'll hold it out like this. So as you can see, again, there's like, it decreases, it gets less wide. What am I trying to say? Yeah, it tapers down here, and then I kind of worked straight about this much down the body, and I think that worked out really well for me. Part of the reason why I also did decreases for the body was because I was worried I was going to run out of yarn, and so I figured decreasing the amount of stitches will help me to conserve some yarn. But if I have my arms down, like I love the drape that this has, and I like that there's still positive ease at the bottom here, but it's not too overly drapey, but it's still drapey, so I love it. I'll kind of move up closer. For the neckline, the pattern states or says to do a folded ribbed neck, and what I did instead, and because I was trying to conserve yarn, I did not do the fold, and so I believe that the pattern says knit 3 inches and then fold it, and then, tack it down on the inside. But I just did 1.5 inches, I believe, of this, and then I did a tubular bind off so that it kind of gives a similar effect. And so that's what I did here. And here are the sleeves. They are the perfect length. I followed the sleeve instructions exactly. I did not modify the sleeve instructions. And I think gauge-wise, it actually worked out well for the sleeves because I purposefully saved my thinner yarn for the sleeves, and I think the thinner yarn was actually right on gauge for the sweater pattern, and I did save that for the sleeves because there are decreases that go pretty much all the way to the wrist or the cuff, and so I wanted to make sure that that was as accurate as possible because I didn't really feel like doing too much math to figure out the sleeves. And yeah, fit-wise, this is my second dad sweater. I did test knit my first one and I loved it. So the fit though for this one is a lot bigger, as I've kept saying throughout this, because again my yarn was a lot thicker. But I also really like this fit because if you could tell, there is armhole shaping on this sweater and a sleeve cap is done for the sleeves, but for this one in particular, because it is a little bigger, the line where the shoulder, the sleeve and the shoulder meet is a little lower on my shoulder than I think my other one. It actually sat right at my shoulder edge, so it is a little wider, but I really like it. So it all worked out really good for me. To be honest, the whole time I was knitting the sweater, I was just kind of concerned about the fit and how it's going to look, and if my yarn was going to look weird on it, just because it is my first sweater quantity spin and actually knitting it into a sweater. And so yeah, I was just nervous, but after finishing it, it's so good and I really like it. I think it looks really good and I really like the fit, and I feel like that's kind of all that we can ask for, right, from a sweater. So yeah, should I stand up again? This is my finished dad's sweater made. It is my first fully handspun sweater. All of the yarn it was all spun by me. And another reason why I love this sweater is I've been wanting to make another dad sweater in a tweed version for so long, ever since I knit my first one, which I think was a year ago, 1 full year ago, and maybe even slightly over a year, maybe a year and a month ago, was my first dad sweater, and ever since then I wanted to make a tweed version, and so now I have a tweed version, and this one's so fun because it's all neon colored tweed on a gray base, and so it's everything I wanted and more. It's so good. And yeah, what else to say? I feel like I could talk about the sweater all day, but I do have a lot more things to talk about in this video, so I will probably stop talking about it now. I just want to say I really love it. I've been wearing it a lot, and I'm very proud of how it came out. So it's really awesome. I cannot wait to make another handspun sweater. This was a good experience for me the first time around. So yeah, I'm thinking of ideas on what I should do for my next handspun sweater. Okay, now that I talked for forever about this sweater, I also have a second finished object for this week. So let's talk about that. I think that you could maybe guess what it is. This is my Fika pullover. Here it is. Okay, and it is mostly finished. I did block it, and so it is dry now. When I blocked my dad's sweater and the Fika pullover, they're both heavy knits. They took multiple days to dry, and I was like, please be dry for me to talk about it on the podcast. So they are dry now, which is great. But yeah, I finally finished my Fika pullover. And yeah, so first things first, Fika pullover, a pattern by Sari Nordlund. And the yarn for this, I use Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the colorway Pomegranate, which is really nice red. I think it's a great red for me, I think. And I never thought that I would really like red or even have a red sweater. And so the fact that I actually really like this, I'm surprised, but I'm happily surprised. I knit size 1, and I used US 6 needles for this. I believe that that's the body, like the cable size needle. I went down for the ribbing, but I used the recommended needle size for the pattern for this. And yeah, it came out great. And I think the cables blocked out really nicely. And I believe the last time I talked about this, which was last week, I had 2 sleeves done, I think, and I just needed to finish the body. And so, yeah, we've got it all finished here. It was a lot of cables, and yeah, but I am happy it is done. I did try it on, and the only thing, so I said it is mostly done because one thing I was not sure about was the neck, the collar. You could leave it as a funnel neck as it is, but I think, so this pattern is top down circular yoke, and you do start with the collar, and it is a tubular cast on, and for me, I think my cast on was kind of loose, as you can kind of tell, like it kind of gathers, like it doesn't really like cinch in right at the top. And so when I wear it, it kind of flares out, and I don't really like how it looks. And so I think, and I'm glad, I left a very long tail so that in case I wanted to do a double folded neckband for this, you know, I wouldn't have to have more ends to weave in. But I do think, I tried it on, I don't like how the funnel neck looks on me. I think, again, it would be okay if it's cinched in a little more, but it is kind of flary at the top. And so because of that, I will probably sew down the neck band so that is a double fold, so that it'll look like this. And I think that'll just be better with how it looks right now. And so I'll do that probably sometime later this week. But yeah, other than that, it is done. It fits well. I'm trying to think of modifications that I made. The only one that I made was actually the yoke depth for this. So when I decided to split for sleeves, so like this from right when the cable pattern starts all the way to the split for sleeves. Actually, I need to check this measurement again now that I've blocked it, because it might have grown a little bit, but I believe the pattern for my size said to just continue knitting before splitting for sleeves, like to continue knitting until it was 9 inches from the top of the cable pattern all the way till wherever you want the underarm to be. And I was like, that's too long. Like, I tried it on and I was like, I think it's good. And I'm really glad I stopped when I did, which I think I might have stopped like 2 inches before the 9 inches, which means it would have been like 7 inches. And I'm glad I did, because I could have honestly, so I tried it on after I blocked it. I could have even maybe stopped it an inch earlier than what I have, because it is quite low. It's like the lowest that I would prefer for the underarm split to be on a circular yoke, and so I think it worked out really well. But other than that, I followed the pattern as stated, and yeah, it turned out really, really great. I think it's going to be such a good Christmas sweater, and I will wear this in next week's podcast so that you can see it on me. When I blocked it, I did pull it widthwise this way for the sweater, because honestly, before blocking, the sweater looks so skinny. And I think it's because of the cables, but sometimes cables don't really stretch out, and so I was really worried that this sweater was just going to be like hugging me like really tightly. So in blocking, I did pull it. I think that I got, for my size, I think the circumference should be 33 inches, and I think I might have gotten 35. I tried to block it to 35. We'll see after it relaxes a little bit. I will remeasure it next week for the podcast and see where it kind of like ends up after it relaxes. But I do think I got a good amount of positive ease for me for this, and yeah, it's looking real good. Again, I'm very happy with how the cables turned out after blocking, because I mean, it doesn't really show on camera, but they were looking really like poofed out for the cables, and I kind of wanted more flat looking cables, if that makes sense. Also because I feel like I didn't want something really dense and heavy, since this sweater is used with a worsted weight yarn and it's all over cables. Like, it's just going to be kind of a chunky feeling sweater, especially the sleeves. But after blocking, again, like once you kind of like pull it apart and kind of like flatten those cables, it looks really good, and I'm very happy with how this came out. And yeah, I feel like I say this all the time, I talk about this, but if you're new to this video, you would not have heard about this, but the inspiration for this, the reason why I made a red Fika pullover, is because Selena Gomez wears a very similar looking sweater in the season 3 finale of this show, Only Murders in the Building, on Hulu, and I love that show. And yeah, when I watched the season finale and she had the sweater on, I was like, it looks like the Fika pullover by Sari Nordlund. And I haven't knit it before, and so I was like, now's my time to knit this pullover. So yeah, now I have a sweater of my own, and I think it does look very cute. So yeah, yay! So yeah, here's a closer look up of the cables. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but you can see that the cables grow in the yoke, and so I think that is a really fun detail, and I do think it looks really cute. And oh, one thing that I did mention, it was like sometime halfway through making this sweater, I switched to doing the cables with a cable needle, not an actual cable needle, but I just used a double pointed needle as a cable needle, because the way that I was doing it was the technique that you do to make cables without a cable needle, which just involves slipping off your stitches really carefully and just doing it, like putting it back on your needles but twisted correctly for the cable. And that's the way that I've been doing my cables ever since I learned that technique. But because these cables are so big, once they reach the full size, they are like a 5/5 cable. It hurt my hands to do it with the no cable needle method, and so I switched to actually using a separate needle to do the cables, and it helped a lot and made the process less painful, and it felt like it also went by faster too. So that's, I guess, one tip for me if you're also making this pullover and have that same problem. But if you don't, that's great too. So yeah, Fika pullover. So my 2 finished objects this week. I love that whenever I hold this up, the camera has to like change its lighting to show the red. So yeah, my 2 finished objects this week, the Fika pullover and my dad's sweater. So yeah, finishing those felt really great to get off the needles this week. Hint, that also means I have a new cast on to share with you, but not yet. So okay, that is done with the finished objects for this week. Time to talk about my works in progress. So as we've been starting the work in progress section, let me show you my progress on my Mackenzie, not scarf, the shawl. It is just called Mackenzie, but it is a shawl. I thought it was a scarf, but I was wrong. Somewhere in the pattern instructions it says shawl. Let's see. Here we go. Let me hold it this way. Ta-da! Okay. This is my stitch marker from last week where I started, and so it feels very encouraging every week to get like it looks like a good chunk that has been knitted, and so it makes me feel pretty good. Like this This is going to be a very long project, but the progress is encouraging. And I think that's why I started using stitch markers to show my progress every week, because sometimes, since I work on so many projects, I just never remember how much I do, and I feel motivated and optimistic about finishing projects when I see how much I actually do get done on them. But yes, so this is the McKenzie shawl patterned by Sari Nordlund, and it is just a long rectangle. That is why I was calling it a scarf in the beginning, but I think it is pretty wide, and so scarf shawl, and it is a 2-color brioche, mostly, pattern with a diagonal garter stitch stripe. And so I finally finished my second stripe. The whole pattern has 4 stripes, and so I am officially halfway done with this pattern. So that's exciting. I reached the halfway point. And yarn, I am using Olivia and Oliver Fibers Classic Sock in the colorways Feather, which is the white speckly color, and then Woodland, which is the brown, pink, speckly, orange speckly, dark brown speckle color. And again, I love this color combination. I'm very happy with it, and it's been fun to work with. And okay, so I'm very happy I reached the halfway point, and I reached the halfway point with extra yarn left. And so I have 2 skeins of each of the colors, and so I just wanted to make sure that once I reached the halfway point, like, I would know if I would run out of yarn or not for the next half. And so the fact that I have, this is a decent amount, I think. Like, we're close. The yarn estimates are good, I think, for the pattern, but yeah, I'm very happy that I have a safe amount left while we are at the halfway point, because I know I will not run out now, and so it makes me feel a lot more relaxed about this pattern. And so we're feeling good, and yeah, we are starting. I just started the 3rd stripe here, this small amount right here. It's so small you can't even tell, but yeah, we did start on this 3rd stripe, and so we're just going to keep going. This is going to be harder to show the longer it gets, but you know, I will find a way to show you. But yeah, so that is how this pattern is going. And yeah, it's just a progress update on the Mackenzie. Okay, next up, I have another shawl. This is the Cinnabar by Andrea Mowry, and this is a pattern that I am using some of my Handspun to make. It is also a friend knit, because me and some friends are also making the Cinnabar shawl with Handspun, and it's so fun. And let's see. Oh, I remember last week dropped the yarn. Okay, last week I talked about this. I was halfway through a row, and the rows on this are getting so long that I was like, I can't just like quickly finish the row while talking on the video, because these rows are so long. So it was really hard for me to show you what this looks like, but I finished a row. And so now I can actually kind of show it to you flat, sort of. So let's pull it up here. It's still squished on my needles, but kind of a better view of it now. My progress on this, very small, just a few rows here, but again, the rows are getting very long, and so it's actually pretty good. But this is a asymmetrical shawl, so there is like a smaller triangle section that is made of garter stitch, and it's 2 colors. It's your main color and your contrast color. I'm using my Handspun for the contrast color. So that's this kind of triangle here, and then in this other bigger triangle, is a 2-color brioche. As you can see, there's a theme. I've just been making a whole bunch of brioche things, and I really like knitting brioche now that I feel a lot more comfortable knitting it. But yeah, this bigger triangle section is a 2-color brioche, and there is stripes on it where the main color switches with the contrast color. You can kind of see that on the other side as well, which I think is really fun, and I think it's really cute. So yeah, it's kind of looking like what am I trying to say? Not like a bowl, but like, because it's so wide and my needles are not that long to lay it all flat, I kind of just have like a huge pocket here. When I carry this project around, I just like grab my yarn and just like stick it in here, because then it's just like a bag. Like I can just hold stuff in it, so that's kind of funny. I am almost done with my first skein of my Handspun, and so I'm excited to start winding up my second skein of my Handspun. And yeah, as I said before, like I've memorized this pattern slightly, so working on this is pretty relaxing for me. The only time I really need to look at the pattern, just because I don't want to mess it up, is when we switch the color to do the stripe. And so I think I have a couple more repeats to do before I reach my 4th stripe. And then I will be on, once I start the 4th stripe, I will be on the last like full like section repeat for the shawl. And so we might be over halfway. It's hard to say, because since shawls are in general like kind of, you either knit them at their widest point and decrease, or if they're like triangle shaped shawls, right, you either start with the biggest part and then go all the way decrease down, or you start at the smallest part and go up. And so it's hard to say where the halfway point is, because yeah, in the beginning for this one you do start at the smaller section and then you increase. Where is the beginning? Oh yeah, the beginning just down here, and you just knit up this way. This flew by. These sections flew by, and now they are starting to feel very long. But just looking at how the yarn looks, I think that this pattern, like, you can definitely do it with a solid color, main color, and contrast color, but using any kind of color changing yarn, especially using your Handspun for this, is just so rewarding and fun to just see how the colors progress and how they look knitted up. And so that's been really fun. And yeah, I'm just happy with this color choice. And quick details as a reminder again for the yarn I'm using for this. My main color is the Rerum Natura Ulysse in the Poivre Blanc color. And then my Handspun was a Corriedale fiber from Bella Filato Studios, and the colorway is Sandunes, which is it's a very subtle color change, pink, purpley, peach, and gray, but I'm very happy with it, and it feels great. So that's my quick update for the Cinnabar. I love talking about knitting and stuff, and so I'm trying to slightly talk less about my projects, because again, we've talked about these in the past, and I again have so much to talk about for the end of this video. But I think that I covered everything for the Cinnabar shawl, so that is that. Okay, next up, I have my pressed flowers cardigan. Let me bring it up here. Okay, this is another project that I am using Handspun with. I've just been fully enjoying knitting with my Handspun. I think it is just so fun and just is another level of excitement to be knitting on something. So, I do have some very exciting progress on this, and so I finally split to work on the front and back. Ooh, okay, where is my stitch marker? Oh yes, okay, so this pattern is worked bottom up, and it's a cardigan, it's worked flat, and so this is my cute stitch marker. I was here last week, and let me see if I can like pull this out. Ooh, it's kind of long. Don't want to drop stitches. Okay, hold on. Well, anyway, okay. I think I had to work a few more or a couple more, maybe like 2 more flower rows on like the entire flat piece before I split. And then I finished the right front. So it is like a V-neck type situation, which I think actually, you know, some cardigans have just like the round neck so that the button band is like all the way near the front. So I guess is it correct to say V-neck? Let me hold it up. So there were decreases going up to the shoulder, and of course this is the armhole opening here, and so I did do that. And the color change for the flowers up here, because it is a shorter length to knit back and forth here, the color changes happen slower. So each of these flowers were kind of like a single color for each row. Like this one's pretty much all pink at the top. This one is kind of like a mix between pink and blue purple for the most part, and then, you know, like these ones are like orange, which I thought was so interesting just to see how that works, because the lower ones, the flowers on the body section, are all kind of like they go through like 2 distinctive colors. So I thought that was really interesting that happened, and I think it looks really cute. Very happy that a lot of these are more of like the pinky colored flowers and they're on the front. And so I was very happy with how that came out. I oddly had a difficult time working on this front section because there are decreases to be done, but you have to, at least for me, I had to pay more attention to where I was in the pattern to know when to do the flower stitches. Because now you're not just like, oh, you start the flower, you know, like 2 from the side, or, you know, like, I don't know how much, maybe like 10 from the side. You're now kind of like, oh, it might start, like you want it to match the flowers at the bottom, but you're not starting them at the same time on this decrease edge. So you had to like, I just had to pay more attention, and I did mess up a little bit more, so I had to like go back and redo it. The other thing is, the pattern says that if you can't do a full repeat of the flower, then just do the plain stitch. And so I'm hoping that this doesn't bother me. I did look at other people's Ravelry pages and pictures to see how they did theirs, but I could not fit. So if you look, so this row is fine. This row, I definitely couldn't fit another flower, which would have had to line up with this flower here up here. Sorry if that's making sense. Like I could not fit a flower right here. So I had to have no flower next to this. So there's kind of just a big gap of plain stitch here. And then for this one especially, I was not sure what to do, because I could, if I tried to put a flower right here, it would be cut off at the top. I did count the stitches. Like I tried to see like, okay, where would it lay? The top, I would not be able to complete like a full flower here. It would cut off the top. And so I decided to get rid of it, just do plain stitch, which is just a lot here. And so I'm like, does that gap, this empty kind of just like, does it look weird? I don't know, because now it's going to have it on the other side too. I've seen some people just have a cut off flower in the decreases, which I think I like the look of that better, if I'm honest, but I do not want to go back and do this. I think it'll be fine. It's just one of those things. I think next time I knit this, I would probably put an incomplete flower here, but I'm not that torn about it, and so I'm okay with it. But yeah, I'm just like, does it look really weird? I don't know. The other thing that I had trouble with is it said you also don't want to, when you do, there is some shoulder shaping here, and they said to do that in plain stitch, but you don't want to stop and do the shoulder shaping in the middle of a flower. Like, you don't want it to be like cut off like that at the shoulder, and so you need to complete a flower row, like completely, or like the stitch pattern. But the size or the length of the armhole is different for each size, so like this much. And so mine's ended up being slightly bigger than, because I think for my size it said 6.5 inches, but mine's ended up being 7 because I really wanted to finish this flower pattern. Like I also, actually what happened was when I finished this second to last flower row or flower pattern, I was like, let me just do plain stitch to get me to the length I need, since I might not be able to finish a full flower pattern by the time I reached the length I needed. And I did, and I was like, it looks like too much plain stitch. Like, I don't want that much plain stitch at the top. And so I just decided to knit another flower repeat right at the top. I am happy with that decision. And I did go back to add the flower, to add the flowers there, and I'm happy with it. So that's my big progress update for this cardigan. I started, the next section to work on is actually the back. It's not like the next front. So I am starting the back, just barely, right here. And so we're just going to continue working through that. For the yarn, I am using the Rerum Natura Ulysse again in the colorway Foray, which is this dark green, and my Handspun. Look how cute. I love seeing how this looks as the cake gets smaller as I work through it, because I am pulling from the outside. This is my Handspun. It is a super fine merino fiber in the colorway Paper Kites from Nest Fiber. I'm very happy again, very pleased with how these are turning out together. So that is my update on my pressed flowers cardigan. Okay, let me take a quick water break. Okay. All right, we've got 3 more works in progress to talk about. So, this next one, I think that this is going to be my main focus this coming week, because I just want to get this done. It is pretty close now. This is my Air Tee by Ozetta. I started this, I think, like months ago, and it is a tee. It's a short sleeve, and so it's definitely meant to be finished in the warmer months, but that didn't happen, and now I want to knit all the sweaters. But I want to finish this soon, because I don't like to have too many projects lingering for too long, especially if they're smaller projects. If I'm like, I can just work on it for a couple or a few weeks to finish it, I should just have it in my regular rotation of things to work on. So here's the progress update on my Air Tee. I just bound off the body like an hour before I filmed today, so I'm feeling good on the progress. So here it is. It is an I-cord bind off at the bottom, and so that's why it's kind of like curling up at the bottom. But oh, here's my progress for the week. Yeah, I was like, oh man, working on this body just feels like it's taking forever. Just having this amount of progress felt like forever. Sorry, let me turn this around so you could see the cute stitch marker. But I'm happy that we are at a good place. I think I did shorten the body a little bit from the pattern because I was like, I just need it to be done, please. So I think I shortened it by 1 inch. But it's okay because it's not super cropped. I think it's a good length on me. I did try this on, and so I think it's fine. At the length that it's at, let me show you the back because again, so if you haven't seen this pattern before, the Air Tee, its kind of main design feature is this back panel because it is knit sideways at the top. So there it is. A reminder for the yarn on this, I am using Big Little Yarn Co. in the organic wool linen fingering base in the colorway Nudie Kabe. So it is a variegated blue and peachy pink color, and I'm really liking how it's turning out. The linen base, I think that this is the first time I am knitting something that has linen in it, and it's interesting. There's a lot of like plant matter in it, and I think that is actually the linen. So it's interesting. It's not the softest yarn, but I think that when I tried it on, I thought, and I was a little worried that it was going to feel itchy, but it is surprisingly light and drapey and not itchy. So I've heard that with linen, like as you like wear it, or if you just like throw it in the dryer, which I don't know if I want to do that with this because it's wool and linen, but I heard that it does kind of like soften up and is really nice and should be really good for like a lighter kind of fabric and really drapey. And so I'm excited to see how that feels like once it's done and actually kind of wear it. But yeah, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the most pleasant thing to knit with in terms of like, it does feel kind of like hard. It's not like bouncy or stretchy, but I think the resulting fabric is going to be really great to wear. So that's fun. As you can see, I just have like, I have run out of, the way that the sleeves work is like this sideways back panel is just like on hold. The stitches are on hold right now so that you can pick it up later to do the sleeves, and I have just like a spare needles on this side because I ran out of my barber cords. But now that I have bound off the body, finally, I think the rest of this should go pretty quickly. So I think next order of business for me for this is to do the neck and then to do the sleeves, and then we should be done. So goal is kind of to get this done by next week. I think that would be great. But if not by next week, I feel like it should be doable to be done the week after that. So definitely before the end of this year, I want this to be done. And it's looking good so far. And now that it's closer to being done, actually now that the body is done, I am really looking forward to having this. Or I'm feeling more excited to work on this now that the body's done. Oh, I did knit this helical knitting to alternate skeins because my two skeins kind of looked just slightly different, and I just wanted to make sure it looked pretty even throughout. So I did do helical knitting. I think that's just part of the reason why I didn't want to work on this as much, but we got through it, and I will probably still helical knit for the sleeves because even though they're short, I do think I took a peek at the pattern and I think that they are 5 inches of the sleeve. It's kind of substantial, so I'll probably helical knit for those, but it's shorter and smaller circumference in the body, so maybe it won't be as bad. I don't know. But yeah, so that is my Air Tee progress. Okay. Oh, I am knitting size extra small, and I'm using US 3 size needles for that project. Okay, next up is, I haven't talked about this one in a while, and this should be a quick thing to talk about because I literally just knitted a few rows just for me to remember this project, and then I stopped. So this is the Traveler Shell by Andrea Mowry, and the yarn I'm using for this is Paisley Knits Sailing Sport Base, which is 100% baby alpaca in the colorway Golden Pavilion. It's a light green and blue and yellow variegated yarn, and I love working with this yarn. I have so many other projects that I want to work on and are farther along than this one, so that's kind of why I've been gravitating towards those. But I do want to work on this more, because if you haven't used or knit with like an alpaca base before, like it feels so good to knit with. It's so soft and so drapey. And yeah, I just really, really like this yarn base. And it's good. So I am knitting size 2. I'm using US 2 needles for the ribbing and US 4 for the body on this. It's very squished on my needles right now. It is like a short sleeve cardigan, and yeah, it's going well. The stitch pattern is just kind of like a horizontal ribbing, so there's like purl bumps in between like the knit stitch rows, and yeah, I think it's cute. It is, this pattern is part of a knit along with La Mercerie, which is a yarn store on Bainbridge Island, in collaboration with Andrea Maui. Excuse me. And I think, so the original pattern was made with some Labia and Aimee yarn, but I wanted to knit this with yarn in my stash, and so this is a sport weight yarn, and I think that my gauge is pretty good on it. And because it looks like it's a pretty like oversized, like something you wear over stuff, and it doesn't really need to be fitted, or if it's like too big, like it won't be too much, like it's very like throw over type of thing. And so sizing wise, like I think I'm good on gauge, but you know, if this grows because it is alpaca yarn, like I won't be too upset by it, like it should be fine. So anyway, that is what I have so far. Here is my stitch marker just to show you. I really just worked a few rows this past week. I just was like, let me just do, because right now this is just worked flat, this is bottom up. It's just worked flat, and I'm like, it's either an entire knit row or an entire purl row. I was like, I just want something where I don't have to think about what I'm knitting. And so I just pulled this up, knit a few rows, and was like, all right, we're good. I'm making some progress on this. Okay, so that is that. And then now, time for my new cast on this week. This was actually cast on last night because I just really wanted to. Okay, so the Daft Days shawl by Rebecca Clow, the Corriedale on Instagram. The pattern came out yesterday, and to be honest, I wasn't planning on buying this pattern. Like when she was talking about it, I saw the tester call by her, and she also has a Daft Days cardigan, and I wasn't really interested in any of them. Like I thought they were cute, but I was not sure if I really wanted to make it. But my friend Megan, who also has a YouTube podcast called A Naughty Mess, she did the test knit for the shawl, and she did a really gorgeous fade, and I saw her pictures, I saw it in person. It looked great, it felt great, and I was like, ooh, I want to make the shawl. And then I was like, what yarn would I use for it? And so I think the way that Rebecca designed it was kind of as an advent shawl, so that you could, like, I think her sample had 24, like a main color, and then 24 stripes of contrast color, and so you could use like a mini skein for each stripe. And I was like, I've actually never gotten a Christmas advent. One day I really want to. For the past 2 years, I've told myself, I will get one next year. I will get one next year. And then the people that I've wanted to get the next year are no longer offer it. And so I don't have like 24 mini skeins as like in a collection. Like that would work well together. But I remembered that I have the Valentine's Day Advent from Lavender Fiber Co. And that has 14 mini skeins, and I've had some ideas on patterns to use for it, but I've just never cast it on. And I was like, counting the skeins, and I was like, if I just repeated each one and not use a main color, because I don't want to buy more yarn, I really want to try and use the yarn in my stash. I was like, I think I have enough yarn to make this shawl. And I think it'd be really cute because the Valentine's Day Advent is like a fade, and it's just like all pink pretty much. And I was like, I think that would be so cute. I was really into the idea, and so I bought the pattern yesterday and I cast on last night. So let me show you what I have. Are you ready? Here it is. Okay. So as you can see, I started from here, and then it, has a gradual fade. Maybe if I hold it here, it will focus. The lighting kind of went away. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the sun is starting to go down already. But this is the start of my shawl, and I've already used all 14 of the colors, so all the 14 colors are showcased here, and I'm just going to keep repeating the 14 colors and I'm doing it in the order that they were in, so like day 1 through 14. Day 1 through 14 is how I'm going to do it, and I think it'll be really cute. One thing I didn't realize, so I am following the pattern in terms of like there is a 4-row repeat, and for her sample it's like 4 rows of main color and then contrast color, main color and contrast color, and I'm just doing 4 rows for each of my mini skeins and just repeating that. And I didn't realize that doing it this way would mean a bajillion ends, but I'm just gonna go with it. We're going to have a bajillion ends to weave in at the end, but I hope that I love this shawl at the end, and so it'll all be worth it. But yeah, this is what I have so far. I really like this stitch pattern. I think it's really cute. I do kind of like, I like the idea of a fade, and for me it'll kind of just be like a subtle fade, and also just like I'm repeating it. I'm not just like going from, it won't be a fade from start to finish. Like again, so like I already did days 1 through 14, and then I'm going to repeat again from days 1 to 14, and I think I will get like 3.5 repeats of that color order throughout the whole shawl, and I think that that will be okay. I did think about doing like the entire fade over the whole shawl, but there was something about like one of the mini skeins has stellina in it, and I just thought that it would be cute to have that throughout the shawl rather than just towards the end. I think it was like day 12 or 11, and so that's kind of part of the reason why I decided to do it the way that I'm doing it. But so far I'm really happy with it, and I finally got down the pattern repeat, so I think that it should be pretty smooth sailing from here. Of course, the rows are going to just keep increasing in stitches, so it's going to get very long. But yeah, I don't have any plans, or I don't plan to finish this year. That would be kind of ambitious, although maybe. But I'd be okay if I didn't. I just really wanted to cast this on since I had the idea, and it felt right to cast it on. I also want to show you the way that I am organizing my mini skeins for this, because I was like, how do I make sure? Because each color, it's very subtle. Like I cannot tell you where each of the skeins start besides like right at the beginning. But like all through here, like you can't really see the stripes. It's a very like a good fade, I guess, because you can't really tell when one ends and when the other starts. But so okay, I was like, I can't just like leave the mini skeins hanging around because then I won't remember what order they're in. So I am very proud of myself. But actually, I was inspired by my friend Sylvan because she holds her yarn in a shoebox, and I don't have a shoebox, but I have, this is a sneak peek, kind of, for what I will be talking about. I bought the Explorer Knits Winter Solstice box, and I believe that it was this week on Thursday. It was supposed to be the first opening day. I got the full box, and so I opened skeins number 1 and 2, so 1 tonal and 1 variegated, and the boxes come in these long, or the yarn comes in these long boxes, and I was like, I could hold my mini skeins in them. So here is how I am, let me put them in order. Here is how I am holding my 14 mini skeins for my shawl. 7 in each box. I've put them all in order, and they're also like box one. So this is first box to start with, and then box 2 for the next. So they're all in order like this, and because they're nicely squished in there, like as you could see, they don't like fall out. I think I might have problems with them falling out once I use up more of the yarn, but right now it's working out really well. I'm so glad that I am doing this. I think it was a great solution for this mini skein ordering problem for working on the shawl. And then I was like, how will I know which color I just finished with? Because I will probably always cut the yarn when I'm done with the color. And so the way I'm doing it right now is I am just I have like a green darning needle that I'm just sticking into each skein, just signaling this is the one to work on next. So far so good. That's the way that I've been doing it, and I am very happy with how that's been working out so far. It's been literally 1 day, but yeah, very happy with it so far. Okay. We've still got, I feel like we might just be like halfway done with the things I want to talk about, even though we are now done talking about all of the knitting things that I have been working on this past week. So next up, let's talk about spinning. I do have a finished object for spinning this week, and I will just hold it up while I talk about it. So this is my Nest Fiber Club fiber. This was the Cormo base, or Cormo fiber, in the colorway Garden Path. I think it was like September or something this year. And wow, I am so happy with how this came out. And the colors are they're not necessarily something I think I would choose. Mostly because of the really like kind of bright blue. Bright. It's a very blue, but I really do like how they all look together. There's orange, pink, green. Did I say the name? It was Garden Path. And I think they look really cute. I think that, so I did a short forward draw to spin this, and I did a 2-ply. This is a 2-ply yarn. It's a fractal spin, so I did split my fiber into, I don't know the best way to describe how I split the fiber. I split it in half lengthwise, and then I spun 1/2 from top to bottom, and then the other half I split again lengthwise into 4, and then did those 1 by 1 from top to bottom. So you might be wondering why I have 2 separate ones here of the same color, and it's because this is the first time that my split of the fiber in half, so the way that I would do it, I split it in half, and I will do 1/2 on one bobbin, And the other half, even though I split those further, but I would spin all of that together on another bobbin, since I'm doing a 2-ply, and then ply those two together. And I've actually been pretty lucky, I guess, that eyeballing the halves have worked out pretty well, where once one half runs out after I ply, I only have a little left, and so I just kind of ply the rest as part of the whole together. So maybe I shouldn't do that depending on how I want the color transitions to work, because the reason you would split the fiber up into a way that you would want is so that the color progression you can kind of control how you want the colors to look in your finished yarn. If you ply the rest of your yarn at the end, like the leftover that you have, the color progression might get all mixed up because you're not doing it in the way that you split up the fiber. But I had so much left over in one of my other halves after I was done plying. So this one is what I plied with my 2 full bobbins. Once I ran out of one of them, I had so much left on my one other bobbin that I was like, instead of plying that one bobbin together as part of the whole, like at the end, so what I would do is to do a 2-ply for one bobbin, I wind it up using my ball winder, and then I pull from the center and outside to do get the 2 strands to do the 2-ply. I had so much left over that I was like, I'm just going to leave this as is so that the color progressions, I guess, in this, or the color ordering in this is predictable, or it's like consistent in terms of like one of the plies is the longer color transitions and the other is the shorter. And this is how much left over on my one bobbin I had that I just plied together with itself. And it still looks good, but I don't know, I was like, there's too much, and I just want to keep it separate. So who knows, I don't have a project in mind for this, and so I could just end up using both in the same project, but I just kind of wanted to keep them separate for the sake of just like knowing that one, the color progression is somewhat predictable, and the other one is just however it ended up. But yeah, they look so cute together. I think it's very cute that one is bigger and one is smaller. And yeah, I think this came out really well. So I still need to knit with this, of course, but I love how the Cormo feels. Does anyone else like Cormo yarn, the fiber? I really like it. It was super enjoyable to spin, and even the finished yarn feels really great. So I think I may have gotten a sport weight or a fingering weight on this yarn. So yeah, we'll see. I don't have ideas or plans yet for this, but I do really like how this came out. So yeah, so that is my finished spin for this week. And now moving on to acquisitions. I guess I should start with my fiber acquisition, because that is probably going to be so I wanted to finish this spin this week because I knew that this fiber acquisition was coming in this week. It came in yesterday, and I knew I wanted to spin it right away. So surprisingly, for my knitting, I think it's so interesting. For my knitting, I basically have like 8 to 10 projects on my needles at one time. But for my spinning, maybe it's just because it's still early, I only like to have one spinning project going on at the same time. So I wanted to get that spin done so that I could start my other spin with this acquisition. I was going to keep it in the bag, but maybe I'll just take it out of the bag. Sorry for the loud noise. Okay. Let me hold it up before I unravel it. Wow, it looks so pretty. So this is the Yarn Addict Co. This is her first time dyeing or selling fiber. I think she started spinning pretty recently, or I don't know if she spun before and then just like only recently started experimenting with dyeing fiber, but she got really into it. It was very exciting to see all the things she was posting for dyeing fiber, and I was like, oh, I bet that she's going to sell hand-dyed fiber soon. And sure enough, she did her first pre-order of hand-dyed fiber from her, and so I was like, I have to get it because it's so pretty. And it is very pretty. The colorway is Autumn in the City, and it is a really pretty, like dark red, kind of like maroon, a dark green and brown, and very, very autumn colors, and I really like it. And this is, I think she was offering 2 different fiber bases, and so I think one was Corriedale, and then the other one, which is the one I got, is, oh good, she wrote it on here, it is BFL and silk. It is 70% BFL and 30% Tussa silk. This is a 4-ounce braid, and I believe that this is my first, oh look, that's fun. I was like, how did she do that? This is my first, this will be my first BFL silk fiber to spin, and so I just love that spinning is like, there's so many new things. Like, I feel like I've spun a lot of things, but there's still so many more things to spin. Like, there's so many different bases and wool and, yeah, different fiber blends to experiment to spin with. And so, yeah, I feel like this is a pretty popular fiber blend or fiber base or that I've seen other places offer BFL and silk, but I haven't spun it yet, and so I'm really happy that I can get a really pretty colored fiber braid, and for it to be in a base that this will be new for me to try, and so it's really exciting. So far, I'm like, it feels really good. It feels both like soft and woolly at the same time. I need to get better at describing different fibers, but yeah, it feels good. I'm going to start spinning this tonight. So yeah, I'm just like, I had to hold off. I was like, I could actually have started spinning this yesterday because I did finish my other spin before that. Or I think I finished plying yesterday. Or did I finish plying on Thursday? I think I finished plying on Thursday. So I could have, oh, and then I got this in the mail yesterday afternoon. And so I was like, I could start this yesterday, but I wanted to show it to you all in the pretty braid. But now that I've shown it to you, I will probably just break it apart and start spinning it. So that was my first acquisition. This is really exciting for me to have. Then I do also have yarn acquisitions, so let's get started because there's a good amount. Okay. Whew. All right, breathe. Okay, so I got, where'd it go? Oh, okay, here it is. I got again, so this all came in yesterday with all of my other stuff. So Paisley Knits this year did a seasons box, like mystery box thing this year. And so 4 seasons in the year, so 4 boxes. And I subscribed for the whole year. And so I just got in the autumn box, and I got the sock sets for each of the seasons boxes, and so I kind of thought that this was the best way to get the variegated and the tonal. The tonal is, of course, the mini skein, but I was like, it's a good way for me to just get all the colors, if that makes sense, but not get full skeins of all the colors. So I got the sock sets, and let me just hold it all up. So each of these boxes come with 4 sock sets, and wow, this lighting is just very yellow right now. It is like, is it almost sunset? I filmed this so much earlier than I usually do. Okay, let me hold them up, and I'll go through each of the colors. Yay, here they are. Yeah, so again, this was the autumn box, and so they're very like autumn colors, very kind of like moody colors, but still very, all very different, which is always good. And let's start with, I think my favorite one, which maybe you could predict, is this berry colored one. So this is Apple Picking and Cranberry Harvest. This is on the coastal, so all of this is on the coastal sock base, which is 85% superwash, extra fine merino, and 15% nylon, 437 yards for 100 grams. And yeah, I don't know, this is my favorite one. Kind of like pink and green has been my favorite color combination lately, so a red and green. Also, like, red and green is Christmassy, but this is giving me, it's not like Christmas, because it is kind of like a moodier red and green, and so I very much like that. So that is this first color. Next up is this orange one. So this is Autumn Leaves and Pumpkin Spice. And this one's also good. I am really happy. I actually surprisingly like the mini skein color. I'm not an orange person, but the way that Coley from Paisley Knits dyes her yarn, her variegated yarn, I just really, really like how she dyes it. And because it's blended with so many different colors, like, this is an orange I can do. I think because it is kind of like toned down with like a brown, that, yeah, I do really like this. This is very fall, I feel like, and so it hits the theme very well. And then we've got this one, which is Stick Season and Sugar Maple. And yeah, this is just a really good, like, neutral color with a nice kind of like golden colored mini skein. That's good. I love a good neutral, so that is also really good. And then this one, I've been really into green lately, and so this green made me very happy. This is Cabin in the Woods and Old Growth. Yeah, just good greens with the brown in that variegated skein. And yeah, all together, they do all look really great together. I have not knit with any of my sock sets yet from the seasons boxes. So right now I have the spring, summer, and now the autumn. And so all that is left for my subscription is the winter box. And so I want to look at all of them all at once to see if there's anything that I could knit with all of them together. Each of them, because they're like seasons boxes, they all each season matches really well together with each other, but throughout the whole year, because they're all different like moods and kind of color palettes, I don't know if I could do anything with all of them together, but it's something I think I want to maybe at least get a picture of all of them together before I do something with them. And yeah, so this is there's more that comes in this autumn box besides yarn. So let me start talking about that too. So I hope I didn't forget anything. I basically, when I got this box, I was very excited about it. Basically ripped it open, took everything out of the box, and then when I had to film for this video, I was like, where'd I put everything? So each box also comes with 2 different tea bags, and this time, so the first 2 boxes, I think I got very similar tea flavors, I think it was some kind of like mixed berry and a blueberry or something. But this time, these two were very different from the first two boxes. So this one is a sugar maple black tea. And I've actually already opened this and tried it because I was very intrigued. It smells very mapley. So yeah, but it was good. I don't think it's something, so I'm very much more of a coffee person than a tea drinker, but for tea, I wouldn't say I'm that picky about tea, but it's kind of like if there is tea, I will drink it. I probably wouldn't like go out of my way to find this and buy it again, but I will probably drink, I think each of these have 10 tea bags. I'll probably use all of them. It wasn't bad, it's interesting. It's a very strong maple scent. Like I can smell it through the box. And this other one is called Rocky Mountain Blend. It is a black tea. I have not tried this one yet, but we will see. I'm sure it's fine. But yeah, so that was fun to see. Two very different teas from the previous two boxes. And then, it's also, each box came with an art print. And so this was or the autumn box. It came with this one. It's really nice. I haven't put up all of the art prints from the other boxes yet, but I do think, yeah, once I get all four, I will probably like put them up on my wall somewhere, all next to each other. I think that would be really cute. And it also comes with a candle, and each of these candles have been so good. I love the scent of all of the candles, and so I was very excited for this one. It's so good. All of them also smell very appropriate for whatever season the box was for. And so this one says black tea and pepper. This is, I believe that the brand is called Homecoming. I guess I should maybe show you the box and the candle. And I believe the smelling notes are up here. It says allspice, amber, tobacco, teakwood. So it's very, smells appropriate for fall. I really have liked all of the candles in these boxes. So I think other than the yarn, the candles for these boxes have been fantastic. Like, I was really excited to smell this candle just because I really liked the other two. So yeah, so I think that was all that was in the boxes. And if I missed something, it's because I already took it out and wanted to use it right away or whatever. But I think that, yeah, that is what came in the box for the autumn season box from Paisley Knits. So that was all really fun. And then I also got another box or a bag of yarn from Paisley Knits. I got my Harry Styles order in the mail. Also came, actually no, this came the same day. No. Oh no, I think my autumn box came on Thursday, and I think this order came in yesterday. Either way, they all came in sometime this week. So this was, yeah, again, Paisley Knits did a Harry Styles collection earlier this year, and I just ordered, I was trying to be good, I ordered only one colorway from the collection, and I got 3 skeins of this color. It's called Sweet Creature, and it is this really nice light purple color, and I thought it was really cute. I got it on the Salty Sock base, which is 80% extra fine merino wool, 20% recycled nylon. And so I believe, and it's 437 yards for 100 grams. And I believe that this is the non-superwash base. And I just really like the color. I wanted to get it on a non-superwash base because I don't know if I've tried Paisley Knits non-superwash base before. And so yeah, we will see how it goes for this yarn. It's a really cute purple color. I think it's, yeah, it's a really cute purple color, so I'm very happy with it. So yeah, so that was another acquisition from Paisley Knits. And then, okay, I briefly talked about this before, but I did get the Explorer Knits Winter Solstice Iceland box. I got the full box, which comes with all 8 skeins, so 4 tonal and 4 variegated, and I also got the day box. I am planning on opening this on the recommended schedule for the countdown for winter solstice, and so I have not opened all of it yet, but what I did open was I opened all of the like goodies, the box that came with the goodies, so I saw the goodies. I will not talk about them yet until the end, or like until I open everything, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who is saving opening. Like if you got the day box and you want to open it all on the day, I don't want to spoil any of the extras, so we will save that until the actual, whenever my next episode is after the winter solstice. But I did open box 1 and 2, so the first variegated and the first tonal for the Iceland box. And yes, I need to say right now, if you don't want any spoilers, so this should have been the day to open the first boxes or the first yarn. So if you do have it and you're planning on staying on the schedule, you should also have opened this if you're planning on following the same schedule. But if you don't want any spoilers because you're saving it for any reason, please look away or skip a couple minutes because I don't want to spoil it for you if you are trying to save it for later. But for those of you who want to see it, if you didn't get the box and want to see the yarn, I got Denali sock base for all of these, and I will hold them up. 1 variegated and 1 tonal in 3, 2, 1. I hope these are the right colors. I opened box 1 and 2, which seemed to be what to open. So that's what they look like. I love that their logo is, or their yarn labels are the artwork, the Iceland artwork. It's so cute. I've been saving all of the different yarn labels that Explorer Knits does for each of like the different kind of themed collections. I've been saving them, so I would definitely be saving these yarn labels. It's so cute. And yeah, I probably should have looked up how to say these names, but I didn't. And so I guess I will, do I even want to try, or do I just wait until the very, very end to name all the colors? Okay, let me try, and I hope it's okay. The variegated is Stroker Geyser. It is very pretty. Explorer Knits does variegated really, really well, and so, I mean, it's just gorgeous. Purpley, teal, blue color. Like, it's just really pretty. Some like really light green in there too. Yeah, it's very pretty. And then this one, Tolt. It is a, I'm trying to figure out what, so it looks brown, but I'm trying to figure out like what, like is it a really subtle purple brown or what? Also, my lighting now in the house just sucks, so it's really hard for me to get a really good feel on this, but I don't think that it's, who knows, it could kind of look purpley, but it really just looks brown. It actually looks on camera pretty good right now, both of these, so yeah, okay, I will put those down now. So those were the first 2 to open for the winter solstice box from Explorer Knits. We will see how strong I can be. I do actually really like looking forward to opening yarn over a course of time, like as a countdown, but the urge to open all of them right now is like strong. But I really do like looking forward to like opening them kind of like one by one. So we will see how long I can last. But that is skeins 1 and 2. And then that is all for my acquisitions, but I do want to talk about some of the yarn dyeing and fiber dyeing that I've done this past week, because I think I've done kind of a lot considering, but I also had some days off, and so that's kind of like why I had so much time to do it. But I want to show you the yarn and fiber I've dyed because I'm very happy with it. I think every time I have done like a dyeing session, I have liked the outcome like even more, like each time I do it, and so it feels very encouraging. I'm very excited to knit something with these because I haven't knit anything with my hand-dyed yarn yet. Actually, I've knit one top. It was the May Drop Tee, but it was a contrast color and it was like a really, really light pink for color work. That was something I hand-dyed, but I want to knit like an entire garment with my hand-dyed yarn, and so now that I'm finally getting colors, I feel very strongly like I really like it. I think that that day may come soon. So let me start with, I'll just go in order of which ones I've dyed. So the hard thing about hand dyeing your own yarn, especially because I'm so new at it, I want to experiment, but also experimenting means like if you create a yarn you don't like, it feels kind of like a waste of the yarn. But you could always over dye the yarn, as I've discovered, but you usually have to like over dye with a darker color if you really just like want to get a completely different color. So I had 2 skeins of a DK weight yarn that I wanted to over dye because I didn't really like the yarn that I created the first time. The first time I created, I was trying to figure out like a variegated yarn color dyeing technique. I was just trying to figure it out. And I used basically just like a blue and like a fuchsia color. And so there was fuchsia, there was blue, some of it mixed together, so there was purple, and it was okay, but it wasn't something that I thought I would ever knit something with. So I wanted to over dye it with a dark, like purpley brown, and to my surprise, in a good way, because I really love how this came out, you can still see in some parts some of that blue and magenta that I was trying to over dye, but the way that it layered with the dark purpley brown, it looks so good, at least I think. Okay, so here are my 2 skeins. Oh wow, it looks really good on camera. Yeah, so these are like my over dyed skeins, but they kind of just look like a variegated yarn, and I think, oh man, I really, really like how these colors came out. And so I think if I ever want to recreate this color, I will have to do, yeah, kind of do the same layering that I did in the first place to get this color. So yeah, these are 2 skeins of DK weight yarn. I'm trying to figure out what I want to knit with this because yeah, I want to knit something with this as is because I think it's very pretty. So yeah, so that was my first yarn dyeing experiment this past week. And then I love that color so much that I wanted to dye it again on something else I wanted to over dye. And this time I had like, I forget what the yarn base is for this, but it is a non-superwash base, I believe, and it has alpaca. So I used the same dye recipe that I used for that, but this time I was over dyeing yarn that was just a light pink. So it was just barely there, like very, very light pink. And because it was on like an alpaca and I think a non-superwash base, it dyed up a lot lighter than the first skeins came out, but it came out also really, really nice. So I'm gonna hold those up here. It's just crazy that the fiber content of the yarn will change how the dye takes on the yarn, and so I think it's really interesting. But yeah, I really like how it turned out on this. It definitely didn't dye as evenly this time around, and I'm trying to figure out why or how to make it dye more evenly. Like you can see here, it's just got a lot darker over there and in some other sections. I don't know if it is because I am over dyeing and that there are some variations in the first time I dyed it that's making it look like that, but either way, I am very happy with this as well, and I really like this color, and I don't feel like, because I'm over dyeing other skeins, I don't feel like I'm wasting yarn because, yeah, I didn't have to buy more yarn in order to do more experimentation. I just had to over dye ones that I already had. Although that did mean, the first time, they were lighter colors, and so it's easier, I think, to over dye lighter colors than there are darker colors, or than it is to dye over darker colors. But I really like how these came out as well. I might make a Sophie shawl with that, like maybe hold them double and make a Sophie shawl or Sophie scarf. I think that's like my initial ideas for that yarn, because it is very fluffy and kind of has a halo on it. So it's very cute. Okay, and then I also dyed. I was like, I want to, what's this? Oh, this was another over dyed color. So I had like a very light green and light pink, another experiment into variegated yarn, and I just didn't like the outcome of it, and so I wanted to over dye it with a darker green. And this time it's not like a dark forest green, but it's not like, let me just show it to you. Maybe it's like a bluey green, but I like how this one came out too. I think that's really cool. This is the first time I've dyed like a green yarn, and so yeah, I think it looks really nice too. So I'm very happy with this experiment as well. Okay, and then, so that was all of the yarn dyeing that I did, but now that I spin, I also became very interested in dyeing fiber. And if you remember, when I bought my Ladybug spinning wheel from Northwest Yarns, because I bought it in store, I was able to get 1 pound of fiber for free as part of like the wheel purchase, and it had to be only certain fibers like that were under a certain cost per ounce, I believe. But I did get some super fine merino to dye, and I had enough. I think I got 8 ounces, and so I split that up to have 4 ounces each, very similar to when you buy hand-dyed fibers that usually come, that I've seen in 4-ounce braids. And so I split up my bare superfine merino fiber in half, 4 ounces each, and I dyed each of them very differently, and I thought that that was really fun. So let me show you my experiments on this too. Oh, and this is not my first time dyeing fiber. I dyed like a 2-ounce fiber that I got from Flock earlier this year, and I really liked how that came out. That was my first and only time at that point dyeing fiber, and I really like how it came out. It was very pastel, very like me kind of color. I did spin it, and then when I finished that spin and plied it, because the colors were so light, in the fiber braid, it looked great. When it was spun up, I think it was just so light that the whole yarn kind of just looks like one color. I haven't knit with it yet, so I don't know how it looks knitted up, but I think it was too light. So this time my goal was to get a little bit more color saturation. And so that was kind of like my goal for these next fiber dye experiments. And I really want to get like a multicolored fiber dye. So for each of these, I used 5 different color dyes to dye them. And so let me show you. So this is my first experiment from this past weekend, and man, the colors came out so different this time around. I don't know why I had such a harder time working with dyeing the fiber this time around. But oh, it does look really cute like this, I think. So I did want to show it to you rolled up like this, but I will kind of like unfold it for you and show you the whole braid. And so I'm trying to remember the colors. I mean, you can see the main ones. I used a brown, a light green, a magenta, or like a dark purple, I think, what's it, like a mauve color, I think is what the dye was called, like a mauve. And wait, how much was that? Green, brown, blue, magenta, or like a mauve, mauve, and I think I did get, no, that was the mauve color. What was the other color? I wrote it down, I can't remember right now, but the dye, some of the colors kind of like broke in really weird ways. So like you can see here, like this looks like I used an orange dye, but I'm pretty sure this came from the brown dye I used. So that was very interesting. And the colors bled a lot more into each other in this braid than I was like wanting to, and so I was kind of freaking out when it was all soaking in the water. I was like, oh my gosh, the dyes are like mixing. Like this whole thing is just going to turn into an ugly brown. But I think it turned out okay. So yeah, I definitely got more like stronger colors in this braid than in my very first experiment of dyeing fiber. And so, oh man, I think it's just so cute to hold it up into a braid and roll it up like this. But yeah, so this was my first experiment this past week. And then I definitely wanted to try again to dye the other half of the fiber of the merino I had. And so this is my next one. I will say this is definitely more of a me vibe, even though I do like the other one as well. Ooh, it looks so cute. Okay, so this is my other one that I dyed yesterday. I may run into the same problem with this one as I did the other one. Since the first one, the colors kind of started to bleed into each other while I was pouring the dye on. I decided to use less liquid when I was pouring the color onto this fiber. So hopefully if it, bled into each other, like I gave it enough room where it could bleed but not into each other. But I think I overcompensated, and so there's a lot of white space of undyed fiber in between each of the colors. So there's a lot more white in here. I like it. I'm just very curious to see how this spins up and how that looks, but I do really like how this looks as is here. And I did use 5 colors again, so let me unroll it so maybe you can see it better. Yeah, this one again, I had a very interesting, color, like the dye is kind of breaking. I don't know if that's like the right word to say, but yeah, it's like it looks like I used like some yellow in here, but it was actually like a green, which I guess it's kind of, but it kind of turned kind of weird. I don't know. But anyway, so that was supposed, like, it's a green. It's supposed to be a green. It does not look like the green as when I've dyed some other yarn with the same dye. The green does not look the same. Actually, it could also be because this is a non-superwash wool versus the other yarn that I've dyed is superwash, and so that could be it. But I thought it was very interesting that this one particular green just like does not dye green. It's like brown or yellow. And I've used like 2 other greens in here. Like, oh, that blue green, I think it's so nice, like the one that's here. I used a peachy pink, which that one makes sense that some of it turned a little orange. Like there were orange bits in that pink, or that peach color, because peach is like orangey, I guess. So that was also interesting, but made sense. And then also some brown, because I do like, I don't know, kind of like brown. So that is this fiber experiment. So yeah, I think the more that I do it, the more I will just understand how the fiber works, how to prep it maybe better, how the different dyes take into the different kinds of fiber, which colors work well together, which ones just like, yeah, kind of like break out into different colors while they're dyeing. And so yeah, it's all just been a really good experiment to dye these fibers, and I'm just really excited now to spin with them, just so that I can get a better idea on like putting together like, okay, if I dye the fiber in this way, how does that translate to when you spin it? Of course, you can break apart the fiber and spin it in different ways, but just, you know, there's so many things to experiment with. But yeah, I'm very happy with these 2 fiber braids that I dyed, and I think they're really cute. Very happy with it, and they're also very soft because they are super fine merino. So yeah, okay, so that I think brings us to the end of this video. I think that is all I had to talk about, and oh my gosh, this video might have been really, really long, but if you've stayed all the way till the end, thank you so, so much for hanging out with me and staying and watching and listening to me. I hope that you are all having a great day on whichever day you are watching this. As always, if you would like to, feel free to comment down below what you have been working on while listening to this podcast. If you have suggestions for things for me to talk about on these videos as well, feel free to let me know in the comments below as well. And yeah, I hope you all had a great time. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving again, if it's something you celebrate. And oh, I feel like there was something else I wanted to talk about. I always feel that way, especially when I'm signing off for every single one of my videos. But if you haven't subscribed to my channel already and you would like to, feel free to subscribe. And I also have an Instagram where I usually post my finished object pictures, and well, I've been trying to post like spinning things on there as well. So my Instagram is arieknits, the same name as this podcast. And again, thank you so much for watching. I enjoy reading all of your comments, and you can comment on whatever you'd like. It doesn't have to be about what you're working on as well. So anyway, I hope that you have a great rest of your weekend, or again, whatever day you're watching, or the whole week, the whole month, the rest of the year. I will still be posting every week as long as I don't have anything going on, like on Saturdays. So I will see you all. Oh, I'm like, next week. I think I will post next weekend. We will see what happens, but either way I will let you all know, but I do try and film every week. So anyway, yes, I will sign off now, and yeah, talk to you next time. Bye.